What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of On the Mic with Michael Flix. Very happy to be back. I've been very excited about this episode and this interview for a long time, as I've been stealing plays out of this guy's playbook for a little bit here and there.
Yeah, right.
I'm a guy, Christian Pendersen, the host and the producer and everything else of SDPrep Insider. I appreciate you joining me on the show today, man.
What's good, man?
Everything's good, man. I can't complain.
I've always wanted to do the Ali G, the Booyaka shot to introduce on a podcast. Now, dude, football season is here.
Yeah.
What's up? You got a little bit more hype in you because it's football season, man. I know you're a basketball show, and I know you dabble in a little bit of everything, but you do work for PPR.
I'm not a basketball show. It's turned into a basketball show because I'm such a basketball guy.
It's turned into a multi-genre experience for you from the year, it seems.
For sure. Well, and see, I think that may, and we're going to get into you for sure. But since you spoke on that, I have a few different shows, and I try to.
That's what I'm saying. It's become one channel,
right?
But with a lot of different, you wear a lot of different hats.
There you go. And see,
you have creative freedom.
Yeah.
I'm linked to only high school sports.
And see that's what I was kind of leery of at first, like kind of like bringing the other audience into like the high school sports and like the sports world. But I feel like I've done like a good job of kind of merging them, but also like keeping them in their own little pockets as well.
Yeah, I think that also until you have somebody backing up a Brinks truck saying go this direction to make your money.
Exactly.
Have some fun.
I'm right there with you. But yes, to answer your question, I'm very excited about football season. I can't wait. Looking forward to it. Going to be back with PPR this year. But anyway, let's talk about you. Let's talk about everything,
man. Let's talk about both of us. This is impossible. It's impossible to interview somebody who interviews for a living.
Very true.
Without it turning back into an interview, so I'm sure
I agree.
People will be very confused about who's the interview here. Yeah.
Whenever I'm a guest on someone else's show, even when I was on your show.
Yeah, it's awkward because you're like, no, wait, I had all my questions. Yeah, no.
Yeah, you got.
But no, life's good, man.
Asking questions. Yeah.
It's been a while since we started trying to get on this, and it's good to connect. But this is a cool space, man. I like this.
Thank you.
This is a really cool studio setup, and I can say you were taking stuff from my playbook. You have much more attention to detail here. You care much more about the composition of your shots. I'll say, like, we're a wash on the studio artwork. We both have our own flair and flavor on that. You have no dog hair on your couch, so that's a positive. Yeah, but so no, like you say that you've been taking, but you've been expanding and improving upon whatever you took out of my playbook.
Well, thank you. And you got the space. You having whole teams on your show. I tried to have the whole Lincoln team in here, and then just like shooting it. Well,
I'll say this, man. We were very in the formative years of Prep Insider. We were very like buttoned up. We want to do it right. We want to, let's emulate X, Y, or Z thing that was on ESPN or whatever, whoever, you like your fill in the blank, Bob Costas type reporter. Anybody that you idolize as a reporter tends to be doing the one-on-one, like sit down interviews. And I think we learned after a couple years of that like, not that nobody gives a bleep about high school kids, but like it's just not the same. Even the Roddy Robinsons and the biggest, baddest names, they're still high school kids. Yeah. And they both are not interested in necessarily like giving you a good interview, not like maliciously or anything. They're just not interested in it because they don't know what it means. They don't care about it. And they're also more interested in talking about, like, these are not pros off in their little bubble where all they do is eat, sleep, and breathe these sports. These are kids.
Right. Correct.
And 9 out of 10 times, we started seeing the kids when we were doing interviews, they'd be like laughing at like that offensive lineman that was in the back doing something. And it started to be like that's where the story is the story is in why is the kicker singing show tunes? Like, what the hell is going on over there? So yeah, we started just saying, leave it, man, let's get everybody in here. Just coach, bring whoever you want. I think it also took a lot of the stress off of the coaches because I do think some people feel like, I bet like right now Julian Sayin feels like probably the only person that people want to talk to at Carlsbad. And it's like, okay, like, yes, he is worth talking about. He's a 5-star quarterback, committed to Alabama and all that kind of stuff. But he has not it requires 11 kids on defense, 11 kids on offense, and all the special teams in between to get them to the championship 2 years in a row. So there's plenty of interesting kids to talk about on Carlsbad. So I think it was that mentality where we started to figure, like, this is so much more comfortable of an environment when there's 5 or 6 kids. And yeah, it's not like when you have this kind of attention to detail, it's not as easy to have a calm, like, we're going to do, because in reality, ESPN, when you'd have boom mics everywhere and everyone has a lav and there's a sound engineer and very few of you guys realize, anybody that you see trying to do this game at the high school level has no support staff. Even Paul Rudy, I would say you don't realize how little he is getting it done with in compared to ESPN College Game Day or something like that. Like, there's so few people. Like, there are 5 or 6 people at KUSI who have their finger, like, they are holding 2 wires together and they are physically running an electric conduit through their body at the live truck to make everything work. So when you see it at the high school level, like you said, it's hard to set up and coordinate all this interviews. So we try to just do controlled chaos and be like, hey, look, everyone get in front of here. I always try to tell people on my show, like, you got to get your mouth right in front of the microphone, because we just still every now and then get kid drops a funny joke, won't say it again. He was out of mic range. Everyone's like, nah, say it again. He's like, nah. And then it just was like, well, that was an awkward 2 minutes that was only enjoyable for the 10 people in the studio. But yeah, man, it's I'd rather have fun with it than be serious with it.
Same.
And I think that's where you get the good content.
Same. And I think where, I don't know if you like lean into this whole like idea of like new media, but I think that's more or less like what it has to do with, like, not being more like player and athlete friendly, but also it not being so serious and cookie cutter the way it used to.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always kind of internally, and to those who ask and are friends of the show, I've always kind of described Prep Insider as like, we're a little bit of a self-aware parody of a high school sports show.
Okay.
Like, in really truthful honesty, I say this to everybody who has ever angrily raged on our comments or DM section, like, do you think that we don't know what we're doing? It would be boring content if myself, Tommy, Morris, Bodie, and whoever was our special guest all came on every single week and only talked about Lincoln's going to win this week, 49-0. Cathedral's going to win this week, 49-0. And we all agree. And someone has to be the guy in the background going, you know, I want Sage Creek, the 12 seed, to beat Cathedral. No.
Yeah.
Like, because that partially because that drives clicks, but also partially because it would be so boring to have it always just be chalk, and this isn't something, like I said, like, you could, to me, I always draw the parallels of College Game Day, because Lee Corso and all those guys are hilarious, big characters of everything, but they can fall back upon, you'd be an idiot to pick against Alabama in the early season against Appalachian State or something like that, because of science and because of reason and because of logic, but everyone will still watch the show because of the pageantry and because of the built-in intrinsic fan base. High school sports doesn't really have that, like, baked into the equation. There aren't just tens of thousands of people waking up August 1st going, I wonder how Helix's O-line is doing this year. Right. So we have to somewhat play like wrestling characters, and if you go back to our baseball content last year, I started to throw on the baseball glasses and do the Randy Savage, the Randy Savage, because I was like, I'm at that point tired. It's spring, and I'm kind of done with like putting up the facade of like, let's just do the character. Let's do the we're going, because sometimes you, exactly like you said, you have to be new media. You have to take it not as seriously, but I do think at the same time it is important to have. And I try to say this to people who are on the younger side of this that want to get into this game. It is important to realize that if you want to do this, this is still supposed to be, at least in some part, journalism. And I see it a lot where people try to like thread that line and like turn new media into, oh, I'm boys with so-and-so. Oh man, like I've had a lot of people, and I don't want to like call people out, but I've had a lot of people be like, hey, can you share this content? Can you share this content? And it's kind of like, oh, dude, no, because basically you're just being a PR arm. In like you sound like internal PR for that team. So glad you said that. As much as I want to be like, I just try and pick somebody that's, I don't want to take a flamethrower to someone on accident. Okay. I'll tell you what, Boogie Ellis. That name ring a bell? Of course. Mission Bay basketball player. Boogie Ellis, I am incredibly proud to say, is on my Mount Rushmore of people who still follow Prep Insider on social media. Nice. Despite them being well removed from having any need to stay engaged. And I think it's because, like, him and Marcelo Mayer. I don't know if you know, Marcelo Mayer is AAA for the Boston Red Sox right now. He's the #1 overall draft pick in Major League Baseball a couple years ago. those kinds of people, I think we very easily could have been one of a number of cameras in their face, always hyping them up. Like, oh, Boogie, great game today. And Aaron Bergeron, whatever Aaron's last name is, can tell you, like, we had a lot of this running joke of, like, you'd go into these gyms and you'd see, like, damn, man, I don't recognize half these people. But they all claim to be, like, connected and down with Boogie and whatever. And in no way, shape, and form was I ever going to cross that line of, like, yo, Boogie, like, come on the show, man. We'll do whatever you need to do. I'm like, no. I'll talk to Marshawn Cherry. Marshawn, you guys want to come on the show collectively, like, as a team? We'll show Boogie the same amount of love as everybody. And I don't know for sure because Boogie never directly said it to me, but I think he appreciated it, that it wasn't just, you got to not be another person just blowing smoke up that kid's ass to try and be like, yo, I got clout because so-and-so retweets my stuff. And that's what frustrates me a lot out of it, is that you see a lot of people that they come so close to getting it in that, like, new media vibe that you said. And, like, again, this is not me trying to take a flamethrower to people, because a lot of people, I still appreciate that they are in the high school sports hype business and publishing content that helps generate awareness for high school sports, but they come so close to getting it, and then they just go an inch past the line where it's like, I
agree.
I'm not going to necessarily ever objectively trust anything coming out of your mouth anymore, because you were so only down the rabbit hole of that one team for 2 years, and now you're only about this team. Like, what's going on, man? Like, what's really your interest in here? And so, yes, new media, but I do also say, for me personally, a large part of it was instilled in journalism school, where it was like, you're not friends with these people. These are the story. There's only certain boundaries to cross. There's only certain ways to go about this. You gotta not tweet stuff without double and triple verification. It's good to develop there's a lot of that tenets that I do say that I straddle the lines of wanting to be Barstool and new media, but also feeling very obligated to be like, there's a foundational bedrock in, like, just stick to the classics, because classic journalism and just being down the middle and respected by everybody has worked for centuries. And so why you don't need to entirely revolutionize things.
Right. Yeah, I feel like I've done a pretty good job of not being for any particular team. Like, there are certain teams that whatever season it may be, I'm going to have more content because that coach or that AD booked me to cover them for that season. So
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's not everybody, and I'm not specifically trying to take a torch to anybody, because you also have been open about, yes, like, you and like Calvin, TSC Sports are people that are very much like, this is our business model. We are video creators. That's one bucket. And then you want to step past that to say, I also do podcasts. And you like you said, even with your podcast, you're segmented. You've got all the different genres and brands of it. So I definitely think that you are a good example of how to not cross that line. Of like, you're like, yeah, I've got the paid content that I'm happy to keep producing. And if every team in the world wants to pay me, I'll be everywhere all at once. I'll hire other camera people. But you've also got the show that you're trying to do. Like you said, a good job to get everybody, football, baseball, basketball, north, south, east, west, big team, full team individuals. Like, you've had guys from what? San Ysidro up to Oceanside, up to Temecula. You've done a really good job with that.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's hard, man, when you're not coming into camera operator job at KUSI and then just like, the whole ladder's like set out. It's like scary as shit to do just your own thing. Yeah. And just be like,
for sure.
All right, man. I think this is gonna work, but maybe not.
And I've seen, and not that I like judge them or anything, but I've seen a few people since I've started come and go because they see it's like, this would be a lot of fun. It'll be really cool to do, and it is. It's a lot of fun. It's really cool to do, but it's also a lot of work. And I think people don't understand that side of it. And so they get out there like for half a season or for a handful of games, like wee, and it's like maybe I'll just go back to like.
See, I wasn't even think you were gonna say. I didn't even think you were saying like going out to games. I was just thinking podcasts.
Oh, okay.
Let alone let alone doing the actual going to games, because there's I will take the flamethrower to Dago football. There's the one account that does all of the tweeting about it, but never goes to any of the games. Does not have a media credential. Does not any of that. And it's not that I want to burn him and be like, oh, you don't do it right, but like that guy is putting every ounce of effort into one style of content. And that's how exhausting this can be, is to do actually going to the games and actually creating a podcast about it and actually writing about it, and to fill all of these buckets. It's exhausting. It's so much work. You do what? A full season of football, probably about 20, 30 basketball videos by the end of the basketball season. And another 20 podcasts. So you probably do 100 pieces of 100 pieces of content. So like how much do you do in a given calendar, like school year?
Man,
you think like 100 pieces of content, give or take?
Right around 100 or so. Yeah.
It's a lot. It's also putting yourself out there a lot, and I think that's another thing that people don't necessarily realize in this public-facing front, is that, yeah, it's cool to be on IG and stuff, and it's cool to tag, but it's also like, you got to be, not like that we're vulnerable and it's like, oh, Mike, I'm so sad about this, but it's like, you got to put yourself out there to people's criticism and critiques, and the comment sections of everything are not all sunshines and rainbows.
For sure, absolutely. Have you kind of dealt with that? You seem like a kind of a guy you don't really.
No, man. People don't realize I'm close to. I want to quit every year. Every year by spring, I'm out, man. That's why I wound up wearing the Randy the Macho Man Savage glasses, just being like, Sage Creek, baby. Like, that was me saying, fuck it, man. I'm so tired of people angrily DMing me, because of our official connection with CIF puts us just, oh, my son didn't make all league, go bleep your. I'm like, I have nothing to do with that. It says CIF in there just because, like, they needed advertising space. Like, I don't make it, like, I didn't have anything to do with the fact that your kid got his transfer blocked. So like, that is nothing to do with that. Like, just a couple days ago, we posted something. Literally, I'm just listing off who the teams are in 5AA, the new football division, and I close out the clip on IG with saying the two teams I'm interested in. Not even saying like these two teams are going to win. It's the two teams that I'm interested in are Army Navy and Rock Academy. And the comment sections are like, Miles McPherson must have paid him to say that. Like, wow. One of the biggest, coolest pastors in San Diego paid some schmuck on a high school podcast to say, I'm vaguely interested in what Rock Academy football can do. And like, so yeah, no, it's not water off a duck's back. It every little bit chips away and kills me a little bit more, because it's just like, you either think I'm making way more money doing this than I am, or you think that somehow I have this direct power to control Joe Hines. And it's like, neither of those are true.
I probably got some growing to do then. I haven't dealt with much of that. Around my showcase that happened when like I sometimes have a couple like student sections like chant my name, and then I'll film them, and then the team that they lost to a couple games ago, they hit me like, oh, that rowdy crowd is a little crazy, they're a little mean, and I don't know why you're showing love to them. And I'm like, hey man, look, they showed me love and I filmed it, put it on my Instagram. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you necessarily want to say that that's the marker of success or that you're doing well, that people are hating on you. So I wish you nothing but avoiding it. It is
you're
nothing
right. I appreciate that.
And no, I think it's also sometimes people are, for at least in the high school sense, I think sometimes people are just caught off guard by, like, not a ton of people are doing predictions stuff, or like, or even showcasing stuff of like, oh, I went to go watch fill in the blank, and there's 100 schools that are like, well, why didn't you come watch us? And I'm like, well, because there's just one of me.
Right.
So chill. And I'm sorry that you saw this as an affront to you, but this is more of just trying to uplift the general existence of girls volleyball. Right. Not trying to say that, like, I'm sleeping on the Cathedral team, or I'm disrespecting the Torrey Pines team, or anything like that. It's just geographically, the Point Loma team was closest to where I was at this afternoon, so I got a clip. So, no, some of it I think is people are just like, why didn't you feature my daughter?
Yeah,
and it's like,
sure.
it's like you have so much passion for your kid. I'm so grateful that you have that passion. All you need to do is just say, hey, can I send you a clip? And I'm like, yeah. So, hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
90% of our stuff is aggregated from public sourcing anyway. So yes, please. Just don't start this with,
Right. And you've been going since 2015, right?
give or take. Yeah, 2015 was the first year, and that was really Tommy Morris driven. Shout out Tommy Morris. But like because 2015 I was with PPR and through the football season, and then left during the playoffs of that football season. So since 2015, Prep Insider has loosely existed. I like to think that 2017 or so we started to really like become the modern incarnation of what we were, because we focused less on TV and more on digital content. And this feels like I'm aging myself a ton, and it's crazy that it's only like 5 or 6 years ago, but it was right around when IGTV started to become a thing.
Okay.
Because Instagram forever was just
60 seconds.
Well, no, it was just really they optimized the photo galleries.
Yes.
And then IGTV was the start of like, oh,
you're right.
YouTube is no longer just the only place to put
right.
full-length things, and it's not nearly what it is now, where now most of the metrics and everything are just keep swiping through 30 to 60-second videos. But once IGTV started to become a thing, and it was like, we don't even have to ask kids to click a link anymore to get from that Twitter click to the IG or whatever it is to get to YouTube to watch the full show. And it was just, we can put the full thing in the same place that we can tag them and their team and their school. I think that's kind of like when we start, that's when the light bulb went off of like, oh, everybody is here now. Like,
Yikes.
In a way that the previous generations of content distributors didn't necessarily have. Like, all of the people from incoming freshmen to their parents have Instagram accounts, and we can all just find them on this one app. So let's go. Let's really push in on this. And I think that's kind of when we became like a show.
And are you a like owner and creator, or?
I mean, I'm the owner. I'm kind of the last person standing. I'm the last full-time person. Tommy has gone on to, again, shout out Tommy Morris. He's gone on to greater, bigger and better things in his career. He's coaching, working full-time, doing a lot of other stuff. And then, yeah, we've had a lot of people come through, do their junior college journalism stuff at Southwestern, and then go on and they're at Sac State, they're at Fresno State, they're back at Syracuse, they're off doing like the full-time journalism thing.
That's cool.
And
that's really cool.
Will they come back? I don't know. Doors always open there's nobody that I consider like an ex-employee, so doors are open for everybody. But I think it's safe to say right now it's mostly just me.
And before you going full-time with SDPrep, being at KUS, being at PPR, was that the only thing you were doing in high school sports?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was fresh out of grad school, and Paul and Rick Willis were kind enough to kind of hire me on the spot when I walked in there with I literally finished grad school like late July, like July 20th of 2015. I was done, I finished up an internship at the Union Tribune and was like, crap, like I got work now. And most of the kids that I was graduating with were getting like those entry-level market 150 or below, so they were in like Topeka, Kansas and Birmingham, Alabama, and really like the way that for anybody out there that is curious about how big-time journalism schools tell you to go about climbing the corporate ladder, they say go to those mid to small markets, work as the weekend sports anchor at ABC3 in Beloit, Wisconsin. Do that for 2 years. And then go up to market whatever it is that's 30 spots above that. And then 5 years down the line, you're in market you know, you're in Reno, and you can probably, I bet if you talk to like an Allie Wagner or anybody at KUSI, they'll be like, yeah, that's exactly how they recommend that you do it in TV. It's awful. And I was just like, do I really want to do that? Like, do I really, can I live in Ames, Iowa for 2 years, hyping myself up to cover the Iowa Cyclones? Like, I'm like, yeah, I probably can do it. But what does the rest of my life look like? What does my total life like enjoyment look like? And so I said, no, man, let's figure. San Diego is 3 million people strong, and even if I have to not be on air right away and just do the producer stuff, I figured I'll stay here. I'll figure this out. So KUSI was a great, perfect slot in. I did that whole football season with Pablo Espinal. I don't know if you met Pablo.
I believe I have.
That's my boy right there. That's my cameraman. Whenever you want to come work for me, Pablo, I don't have the money to afford you, but I'll take out another mortgage. So yeah, did the whole football season there, and Paul was kind enough to mentor me and be receptive to me being way full-headed and thinking like, I'm so special. I just finished grad school at Syracuse. I know everything. And he was also very honest about like he didn't have. They had a full roster of on-air talent with Rick Willis and Stephanie Kelly, the Rattler, and Allie Wagner and Matt Gilson, and a lot of greats that were like, hey, we've got all this up here, but we will figure out a way to give you some part-time this, that, and the other. And I think I was, like I said, I was always looking for that digital thing, and I was very convinced by my experience in graduate school at Syracuse that like, don't get too stuck in trying to chase a certain specific job, because new jobs are always popping up, because mediums are always changing. And so I was like, you know what? If it's television, climbing the ranks and doing the little this, that, and the other, or if it's taking a chance on doing something crazy different and digital, like, rather do the crazy chance thing when I'm 25 than when I'm 35 and having to do it as like a quarter life crisis. So I pushed off and was like, let's go try this. Let's go do the PPR or the Prep Insider thing. And like I said, it took a couple years to really have that show evolve into the right thing, but it couldn't have asked for a better thing, because now literally like the entire medium, you talk to any kid, if you walk up, if it's you, me, and John Maffey from the San Diego Union Tribune, and we walk up to any high school kid post game to an interview, and you're wearing your KUSI red jacket, I'm just wearing street clothes, and John's wearing literally a sign that says, I write for the newspaper. They'll know your brand. They might not know you specifically, but they'll know the brand. They will most likely know me because my face is just plastered everywhere over, and I directly, like I said, I tag and they will have no idea who John is. John writes for 250,000 people every week that subscribe to that newspaper, and no kid has any clue who he is. And that's to me where I'm like, what are we even doing here? Like, we're literally, it's all flipped upside down, topsy-turvy. High school kids don't give a crap about the traditional old medium. I don't think that a single one of them knows what AM radio is. So like Coach Quintera has a show with Braden Suprenant on 97.3 or whatever. I guarantee you that's only listened to by coaches and that kind of stuff. And Prep Pigskin Report probably does phenomenal actual television viewership, but I would assume that the All Sports Report is a steep drop-off.
I would assume so.
Because most kids will just be like, oh, I'll find that online when I'm tagged in Plays of the Week or something like that. And that's where I'm just like, if I was truly in this for like the clout of where I was working, I would have stayed at KUSI or the newspaper or something like that, just to be like, oh, legacy brand, that's where I'm working. But if I was in this for the actual enjoyment of like a random Tuesday watching Bishops and La Jolla square off in water polo, for the true authenticity of loving that sport, I got to go in this other direction, because that's where I'm actually exposed to it and actually doing it. And been the best blessing is going out and actually just doing it and being there and being involved, as opposed to sitting somewhere doing copy editing or backroom producing, editing of footage and whatnot.
Yeah.
But just getting to say, oh, I work at whatever the top ranked show or the biggest newspaper or something like that.
Kids not knowing about the newspaper or not caring about AM radio, you think that's like an issue, or just like a tale of the
It's
times?
just reality.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there was something like, I'm trying to think if there was something like that when we were in high school, because the internet was just starting to get its legs, and I don't think there was much of like an online like blogosphere when we were ever in high school, so I don't think there's a parallel for us to understand it.
Yeah, me and my athlete friends in school, we knew who the North County Times photographer was.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
wanted our picture in the paper.
Okay,
But as far as like the write-up, we didn't know those guys.
Yeah, we're on the same page there then on that. And so I don't think it's bad. Let me backtrack that one little bit. I do think it's bad in the sense that it's good for the sake of sports as an industry here in San Diego for there to be a lot of outlets covering it. And the Union Tribune just got bought again like 2 weeks ago by a hedge fund that it's been slowly, like from where it was 5 to 10 years ago when Doug Manchester owned it and it was still produced here in San Diego, to where it is now, like it's on life support. And if the Union Tribune goes, like when John Maffey retires, like I don't know if they'll go away, but they might go entirely to just like, oh, we're going to freelance like 2 articles a week on high school sports because it just doesn't move the needle for us. And so that is bad in the sense that like if none of the current batch of kids are going to grow up attached to this media outlet, it's going to die eventually. The same with radio, the same with television even. Like if people stop watching KUSI, it will lose its revenue and it'll stop having the ability to fund it. And that sounds in principle great, like, oh, cool. Like there's a lot of people when KUSI was getting merged with and bought out and all that kind of stuff, were kind of texting me or DMing me, you're like, oh, dude, you must be stoked, man. I'm like, no, hell no. They're at every football game all season long. Physically, in the known universe, there is no way in hell that I could occupy 32 places at once and be anywhere near the coverage, quality, and depth that they are. So no, I think it's not a bad sign that kids are choosing to consume things the way they are. It's bad for the very macro sense of like, if you go to like the southern section, which is the CIF, there's the San Diego section, and the southern section kind of encompasses everything from Orange County up to LA. If you go to their football finals, there's legitimately like media availability where they will move kids into another room with a fixed mic because there are still so many reporters there. There's a dozen outlets spanning TV, news, and radio, and it's a cool media environment. I think that something like that would be awesome. Like post-game at the Open Division Finals at Snapdragon, or I guess let's think. Yeah, Paul had I think they had a live setup there where Paul brought people over. So there's that, and that's cool. And then there's also a Fox 5 camera in one guy's face. I've got mine thing with Bodie, and like everybody gets talked to, and it's cool that all that stuff makes it out there. But I'm blanking on the kid that caught the touchdown for Lincoln, where the Carlsbad kid spun him around and shot him into the end zone to win the game. But if that kid was absolutely mobbed by 10 cameras at the end of a game, that'd be a cool setup.
For sure.
That'd be a great setup. So how do we get there? We get there by people consume, in a traditional sense, the way that you get, media, and you raise money off of ad revenue. And so, yeah, it's not fantastic that we're running out of new kids moving in traditional ways, but I also think that on some of it you have to adapt. And if you're just telling kids, no, like, you got to pick up this paper and read it, then you're not a savvy enough content creator to figure out that way to, like, bridge the gap.
Well said. I like that. Now, you graduated La Jolla in 2009.
Yes, sir.
And did you know going into college that you wanted to be like work in sports television, or did that kind of like materialize while you were in college, or how did that work?
That materialized in no way, shape, and form at all in high school. The only thing I knew in high school that I wanted to do was just not be a doctor or a lawyer or anything that had anything to do with being like a serious person. And went to college at UCLA, was part of the baseball program, and through realizing that I was not good enough in any way, shape, and form whatsoever to hack it at the Division I level, let alone be a professional, I think my delusions of grandeur faded very quickly of like, oh, this is not going to be cashing the checks. Like, got to figure out some other way to do that, but I want to still be involved in sports. So I was just kind of putting out the feelers of like, what's coaching like? What's being a front office person like? What's being a scout like? What's and I kind of kept coming across the downside of every single thing was you're never in one place for very long. Everyone that's like, oh, you want to be a coach? Like, you want to be like a coach? Great. You're going to have to do your GA somewhere, and then you're going to go do 2 years as, using the baseball terms, it was you're going to go do 2 years in D3 somewhere as a hitting coach, and then you're going to go climb the ranks to somewhere else in D2 as an outfield coach, and then you'll come do the film room, and then in 15 years, you can, maybe be the pitching coach at UC Riverside. And the same with like, oh, great, you want to be Theo Epstein, saving the Cubs by putting together this great roster? That's going to require 20 years of bouncing from franchise to film room to this, that, and the other. And again, it was kind of that same question that I asked myself about eventually when I decided on journalism. Like, that quality of life is, what do you want to do? Do you want to just only have a career, or do you want to have a career and your freaking sanity? And so sports journalism, maybe not initially, but just sports broadcasting was something that I was like, oh, you can be the dude that works in studio. And ESPN LA is just in LA. Like, you can just be at the ESPN headquarters there. And you can have some actual roots laid down. Or if you work for the Padres, yeah, you might have to travel and do road broadcasts, but like, you live in San Diego. So that's where I think sports broadcasting was sort of the general idea. And then I wound up picking Syracuse for graduate school because they kind of seemed to be the direct pipeline into ESPN. And that's where I got my head on straight, really, about like, okay, here are the tools with which with which I can get all of this done, and a little bit of the general roadmap. If not entirely a roadmap, it was also just, here's the delusional self-confidence to walk into any room and be like, let's talk sports. I'm going to get this. We're going to do this. We're going to connect. I'm going to make you feel like I know everything about your, like, just give a good interview and give the backbone to that, so that I know that, like, hey, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be really good at it, and I'm going to be really well prepared at it. What it actually is and looks like, we'll figure it out once we get there. Because like they would always say, hey, your job might not even exist yet. New jobs are always coming every couple years that you don't even know. So don't be so dead set on how you want to do it. Just know what you want to do.
What do you think? It seems like a very simple question to ask, but for anyone who who wants to get into this, what do you think goes into like crafting and like bringing forth a good interview?
Delusional self-confidence. You cannot be camera shy. There's a lot of people that I don't even think you realize what can be awkward about being on camera. Like the setup that you have right now probably confuses the hell out of some people. Because what am I supposed to look at you? Am I supposed to? Yep. Definitely not supposed to look at that one. That one's yours. High camera too. You have to have delusional self-confidence to know that the way that I've got my knees right now are fine, and I don't need to feel self-conscious about my hands and or my voice or how prepared I am or anything like that, because you can't, like, it's blood in the water. Like, you can't give out one little teeny bit of a lack of confidence. And that, I'm talking all body language right now, but that also instills in the interviewee a sense of comfort of, if you've got the San Pasqual soccer team on the other side of the room and 2 or 3 of those kids have no interest in at all being there because they're just awkward, shy kids, but you have a overwhelming sense of calm and camaraderie with a kid or an interviewee of, hey, look, this is just a conversation, man. I'm not trying to get anything out of you. This is not a spotlight on you. This is just, let's talk some shop. That's what I say when I say delusional self-confidence, is just to know that you are the right person at the right time to talk with that person about whatever the topic is. Secondly is 100% research. And that can take any way, shape, and form of hopping on their IG and being like, yo, man, I noticed you got a thing for chains. Every single one of your photos, bro, you are like holding that thing out. And the guy's like, oh shit, okay, I fuck with it. Or if it's knowing, hey, the last 3 years you have really succeeded at just absolutely pummeling Valhalla High School. Why do you hate those guys so much? Always run up, like, it's you don't have to know every single thing about the person, but knowing something more than just saying, hey, Roddy, you play for Lincoln. What's it like representing the community? He gets that question from everybody. Right. And that question means nothing to him the 200th time it's asked. So it's about that confidence mixed with good preparation. And good preparation, if I'm giving the advice to people, good preparation comes in the form of whatever you want your content to be. Like, do you know who Nardwuar is?
Yes. Like,
Nardwuar could flex the brain he has to ask all those artists musical questions of, hey, your harmony in that song number 2 on your album, this one, but he takes it in the other direction of, like, hey, here's this crazy fact from you about high school, like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, on some of this, you just pick what it is about conversation or what it is about humanity that you want to talk with that person about. And you really dig into it in a way that you know that you can communicate with that person about. And then that sets you up for genuine conversation, which I think comes to my last piece of advice, which is, do not be so dead set on what you think the conversation is going to be.
That's a good one.
Like, you can over prepare and come in there with, these are my 7 amazing questions I'm going to ask you today, Michael. And we're getting through question number 1, question number 2. I ask you question number 3. How was that, that your senior night at Orange Glen? You're like, oh man, it was great. I scored 35 points. Then after the game, I killed my mom. And I'm like, all right, sweet. So then you finished at Orange Glen, and then you went on to college. And I'm like,
it's like, wait,
what?
Yeah.
What did you just say? Like, so don't be so set always on, like, even if you come prepped with exactly what you think the interview is going to be, don't be married to it, because sometimes you get in there and you realize, okay, this guy has no interest in talking about that, despite the fact that I prepped a ton for it. But I see a little window over here, so let's go in that direction. Yeah.
Great. That's great advice, man. Great advice. Definitely veteran advice for sure. It sounds like you can tell. I don't want to say sounds like, because you obviously clearly have, but definitely shows that you've been doing it all for a long time, man. Definitely a lot of things that I try to do, but even definitely gave me some other things to think about for sure.
Well, you definitely have that you flex because you, like we've said, you interview a wide variety of people, but you all get them to have decently similar conversations, which are cool, relaxed, informal sit-downs with you. And I mean, I think we've been going at this for about an hour or so right now, and We've covered everything from working in TV to starting beefs on Twitter and covering water polo. So yeah, you definitely have achieved a lot of that, and it's fun to watch.
Thank you. Good to know. Thank you so much. What's your? Do you have a favorite sport to cover?
I mean, probably baseball, because it's what we're best at as a city, and it's what we're best at as a show, and home runs are freaking fantastic. They're the best. When Kalen Applefield walks up and crushes one. If not that, water polo. Water polo is something that I don't think people realize. It is legalized warfare. Anything that football ever tries to make you think that like we're the toughest. No. You ask anybody that attends Bishops, Cathedral, Carlsbad, La Jolla, Coronado, like the real like goons that are in the pool, terrify the shit out of all the football players, because they are truly like, some of the people that play offense in water polo have to fend off 2 or 3 guys and or girls, because girls are equally as savage, trying to actively drown them and kick them, and like people are bloodied and bruised at the end of water polo games, and will still have 6 goals, and just, it's amazing. It's like the peak athleticism, and games last like about an hour, and they're usually high scoring, and the pool, the way it's set up, it doesn't take that long to get the ball from one end to the other, so you can be down 3 or 4 goals, and then 9 seconds later you win the draw, you pass it down, and you shoot, like you're back in it. It's an amazing sport to go check out. Nobody will ever be able to adequately or accurately explain to you the rules, so don't try. Don't. When you hear the whistle and you see the refs doing the fingers and all this, don't ever ask anybody. Nobody knows. I don't even think the refs know. But water polo is absolutely that. Combined with it's like baseball. It's something that San Diego uniquely does really, really well.
Okay. What about your least favorite sport?
Either football, just because of PPR's existence, and it's become the necessary evil to me of like, gotta post it because football does fantastic numbers no matter what. It's like the popcorn consumer. Everybody will do football, but in doing that, I feel like I'd rather spend my time elsewhere, because I'm never going to catch PPR, ever. Like, I'm never going to overtake PPR. Like we said, I don't want to overtake PPR, but I got to do the necessary evil. If not that, probably golf, just because golf is, I don't know what to give people. Like, follow one kid around for a putt. Like, combined with, at the end, what are you going to say? Hey, you won because that other kid choked and he 3-putted? Like, that's a horrible post-game interview.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, congrats, you won CIF because that other kid had a freaking meltdown on the 18th green and shanked 2 putts. The kid's going to be like, yeah, man, really tried hard today. Like, no, I think that's a very awkward post-game interview, is the golf championships.
I hear you. Have you ever done any golfing personally?
I mean, yes, I've golfed, but I'm not a golfer.
I tried it once and I'm horrible, and it discouraged me for
golf is not supposed to be easy, apparently.
Yeah, and that's what everyone always says to me. But it's like at the first time I tried tennis, I wasn't very good. I stuck at it. And I'm fairly decent at it.
Oh yeah, a little forehand back.
I'm decent at it.
You doing pickleball also now, or just golf,
just
or
golf.
just tennis? Just tennis.
I haven't gotten into golf yet, or I haven't gotten
into pickleball yet.
Not at all. I was, however.
How about you? What are your favorite sports and least favorite sports?
My favorite sport to cover is basketball for sure. My least favorite. Well, I'm not as well versed as you. I've only ever covered basketball, football, a little baseball, and a little track.
Track's a blast.
Track's a lot of fun. And so,
again, got to put an asterisk there, because, like, Sage Creek last year, they had a meet where they're 4x400 relay. So that's each kid runs a mile. Was down by like 30 seconds at one point, and then ended up coming back. And I'm like, their coach sent me the whole race. And I'm like, Coach, I don't know how to repurpose this into anything useful. Like, what am I going to say in the IG caption? Fam, watch this video for 4.5 minutes while this one kid runs and catches up to the other school. Hold on, though, because there's 8 more minutes of the race after that where they proceed to absolutely nuke the rest of the schools. It's not a close one, so just please, though, watch no. It becomes difficult to do some of that. The 100-meter hurdles, that's great content. The high jump, fantastic. Trying to be like, yeah, man, this was the moment where Tessa Buswell from Poway won the 3,200 meter. You're like, bro, I'm not going to put the whole 9 minutes on there. Nobody's going to watch that.
Yeah, I've had a little of that myself, like different, and people not even necessarily coaches, but just like a random parent or like someone that I know that I didn't know that they have a nephew or somebody that runs track, and they send me say, hey, post this for me, bro, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I mean, yeah, I can well, I don't.
Oh yeah, man, I'm cringing right now. Oh, it just makes me whoa. Give me those willies.
I don't know, but for me anyway, it makes it feel like, because sometimes like people send me stuff, I'm like, oh, this is great, I could definitely post this, and it makes it seem like you're being unfair, but it's like that they sent me something that was entertaining. That was.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I catch flack. It's because people don't take the time to think, oh, well, maybe he posted that just because he had time yesterday. Maybe he didn't post that because he's doing something else today. Or maybe he has this. It's like, no, he must have something against my daughter or against our school or against this program. And it's like, bro.
That's the last.
Get out of here. Yeah. That I have the mental capacity to be mad at Pack Ridge volleyball. Like, what are you talking about?
For sure.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun, man. I'm definitely glad. It took a while, but I'm definitely glad we got it done, man. I appreciate you stopping by the show to talk to me today, man, for sure.
Deal, man. I appreciate you, too. Who's next?
Who's next? I got...
Or who's the... Give the people... Show the people how it's done. Hey, camera 2 again. Good to see you. Give the people the coming up this season.
The coming up this season? You mean as far as like the podcast? Or like
yeah, man. You're like, hey, this was a great. Yeah, this is let's put on another clinic now as to how to get a little something done. This is called a tease, everybody. You end one with a reason to keep coming back. So Michael Flix will say, hey, thanks for sitting through this boring ass interview with this white kid.
Oh, not
We're going to go back to our regularly scheduled fun content, including possibly X, Y, and Z coming up over the next few weeks.
Not at all, man. You're a big deal here in town, man. Everyone's going to love this episode, man.
No, but so yeah, give them the tease. Give people what's up on the next couple months.
Hopefully, and see, I a lot of time don't like to speak on stuff because I feel like I always jinx myself.
That's what I'm saying. It's a tease. You're not saying when. You're just saying they're coming in the near future.
In the near future, I should have my biggest guest to date, Norman Powell, was supposed to be on the show. Supposed to have him very soon.
If Norman comes on, let me know. I will come say what's up.
And see,
we overlapped at UCLA.
Perfect. I'll tell you off camera. I'll tell you off camera. But yeah, I'm supposed to have Norman Powell on soon. I got an.
He knows me as the kid in the banana suit cheering at his games.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's not making responsible decisions between the ages of 19 and 22.
See, I got Norman Powell. I've got, who else do I got? I got a guy named BJ Matthews. He has a podcast here in town called the Pull Up Basketball Podcast. He just had Steve Kerr on his show. He said he's had a few big name guests. Was supposed to be having Herman Smith on the show. He said he would come on.
Where's he at now?
He is at... No, he's not at Jackson. Where he's not? No. I'm sorry. No, not. I'm supposed to have Grayson Halton. Supposed to have him on the show. Herm, we spoke, and that kind of.
Where's Grayson Halton at?
Grayson, he's at Alabama.
Still at Alabama?
Yeah, he's at Alabama. And then I'm supposed to have Darion Trammell from San Diego State. He's supposed to come on, and also Matt Bradley. They're all supposed to be coming on soon. But again,
that's why you. I don't want to do the haven't do my mic impression. Oh man, I don't know. I don't want to do the teaser. I don't know.
No,
I don't want to speak on it, but maybe, just maybe, we'll have an NBA champion and 2 of San Diego State's best basketball players on the show. I don't know. Oh, I don't know.
Oh, you're making me feel so bad. But I don't want to, because if it doesn't happen, you know what I mean? Because I've had so many guests. Like you and I, we took a while to do this.
If it doesn't happen, you don't have to tell people it's not going to happen. You just do the, hey, we didn't have time to get to Darion this week. Sorry we had to cut his episode. I promise you, Darian, next time we'll air your footage. You don't ever tell people.
Coach, you're absolutely right. So yeah, we got Norman Powell coming on the show.
That's what's up.
We got
NBA champion Norman Powell.
NBA
Boom.
champion
Who's
Norman
next?
Powell on the show. NCAA championship player Darian Trammell.
It's slightly wordy, but let's go with one of the best SDSU basketball players in recent history, Darian Trammell, coming up on the show. Who's next?
And also a teammate of his from San Diego State, Matt Bradley, are also supposed to be on the show.
A guy that looks way more ripped and terrifying in a basketball jersey than Darian does. Absolutely. Matt Bradley is coming up.
Absolutely.
And you said there was also a podcaster in there, yes?
Yes, BJ Matthews, host of the Pull Up Basketball Show.
Also, BJ Matthews from the host, not from the host of the. Damn it! See, look, I'm not perfect. That's why I don't do any of this live. BJ Matthews also on the show.
Yes.
Check it out.
Got a lot of good stuff coming up, man. I appreciate it.
Got a lot of elite stuff coming up.
Absolutely,
There's nothing better coming up in San Diego right now.
Appreciate you.
Oh, God, we can tell which one of us has the melanin in their skin after that handshake.
We can do it again.
No, I'm good. The people don't need that one again. That'll get clipped onto social.
This was a lot of fun,
enough,
man. You definitely got me making sure I got to come more energy each show, man. Thank you, man. I'm each intro and outro and just throughout the show, I'll be thinking about how you was like, come on, man, we need some. I'm going to keep that in mind, man.
Deal. Fair enough.
My mom actually tells me the same thing. Like, hey, wake up a little bit more. My mom tells me the same thing. So definitely something to work on.
Fair enough. Talk to you guys soon.
Then another episode of On the Mic with Michael Flix. My guy, Christian Pendersen from SDPrep Insider. I appreciate you joining me, man.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you guys tapping in. Till next time. Take care.